The massive station hung in space like a jewel, reflecting light from the distant star. Inside its gleaming halls, Ambassador Tae-sung walked with measured steps. His dark suit stood out among the colorful robes and exotic forms of alien delegates. Behind him, Ji-woo carried a datapad, her face calm despite the tension in the air. Hyun-woo followed close, his eyes scanning every corridor and doorway. 3 months had passed since Earth sent its first diplomatic team to the Galactic Council. 3 months of insults, delays, and dismissive gestures. The aliens treated humans like children who had wandered into an adult conversation. They laughed at Earth's achievements and mocked humanity's short time among the stars. Tae-sung had endured it all with patience. He smiled when they insulted him. He bowed when they ignored him. But today was different. Today, the Council would vote on humanity's request to join their organization. Today, Earth's future would be decided. The Council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of aliens filled the curved seats that rose toward the domed ceiling. Tae-sung stood at the center podium, a small human figure surrounded by beings from across the galaxy. Some were tall and covered in scales. Others floated in tanks of glowing gas. A few looked almost human, but their eyes held no warmth. Vorn, the council director, raised his clawed hand for silence. He was a Vrex, a species that looked like walking reptiles with sharp teeth and cold eyes. "The human will speak," Vorn announced, his voice dripping with contempt. Tae-sung stepped forward. "Honored delegates," he began, his voice steady and clear. "Humanity comes before you in peace. We seek only to learn from your wisdom and share what we have discovered. In the 50 years since we achieved faster-than-light travel, we have colonized 12 worlds. We have eliminated poverty on Earth. We have cured most diseases. We have created art, music, and literature that celebrates life in all its forms." A rumble of laughter echoed through the chamber. Several aliens exchanged amused looks. One delegate, a floating Nefera, spoke without being recognized. 50 years? We have been traveling the stars for 50,000 years. What can primitives teach us? Tae-sung did not flinch. "Perhaps nothing," he admitted. "But perhaps you could learn what we learned when we were divided and fighting among ourselves. We learned that cooperation brings greater rewards than conflict. We learned that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. We learned to listen before we judge." Vorn's tail lashed in anger. "You dare lecture this council? You, whose species nearly destroyed itself with nuclear weapons? You, who polluted your own world and slaughtered your own kind for resources?" "Yes," Tae-sung said quietly. "We did all those things. And we learned from our mistakes. We changed. We grew. Is that not what wisdom is? Learning from the past to build a better future?" Ji-woo pressed a button on her datapad. The chamber's main display lit up with images and data. Tae-sung continued, "We have also been watching and learning since we arrived. We have observed council trade routes, communication patterns, and diplomatic exchanges." The chamber grew quiet. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "We discovered something interesting," Tae-sung said. "The Council has been selling weapons to the Outer Rim colonies, weapons that are illegal under your own laws, weapons that have killed millions in regional conflicts." Vorn stood up, his voice sharp as broken glass. "This session is over. The human makes wild accusations without proof." "I have proof," Tae-sung replied. He nodded to Ji-woo, who uploaded files to the Council's secure network. Transaction records, shipping manifests, and intercepted communications, all gathered legally from public data streams and standard monitoring protocols. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Delegates shouted at each other in dozens of languages. Some demanded an investigation. Others called for Tae-sung's immediate removal. Vorn slammed his gavel repeatedly, but order did not return for several minutes. Finally, Vorn's voice cut through the noise. "This session is adjourned. The human delegation will remain on the station while we investigate these claims. You are confined to your quarters until further notice. Tae-sung bowed slightly. As you wish, Director. He turned and walked out, Ji-woo and Hyun-woo flanking him on either side. That night, Tae-sung sat in his quarters reviewing reports from Earth. Ji-woo brought him tea, a small comfort from home. "Do you think they will listen?" she asked. "They will do what powerful beings always do when confronted with truth," Tae-sung replied. "They will try to silence it." Hyun-woo checked the door locks for the third time. "Sir, I recommend we request immediate transport back to Earth. This situation feels dangerous." Tae-sung smiled sadly. "We cannot run every time we face opposition, Hyun-woo. If we leave now, humanity will never be taken seriously." At midnight station time, Tae-sung told his team to rest. He left his quarters alone, heading toward the observation deck. Security cameras captured him walking down the empty corridor. No one saw him after that. 48 hours later, station maintenance workers found his body in a waste disposal unit. His face was peaceful, but bruises on his neck told the story of violence. Ji-woo screamed when they told her. Hyun-woo immediately tried to access security footage, but the files had been corrupted. Within an hour, armed guards arrested both of them. Vorn appeared on their cell's viewing screen. "You are charged with the murder of Ambassador Tae-sung. The evidence is clear. You were the last to see him alive. You had access to his quarters. You will be tried under council law." "That's a lie!" Hyun-woo shouted. "We were in our quarters all night. Check the logs." "The logs show you left your rooms at the time of death," Vorn said coldly. "Do not make this worse with false claims." Ji-woo stood perfectly still, her face pale. She spoke in a whisper that carried more weight than any shout. "You have made a terrible mistake. Earth will not forget this. Earth will not forgive this." Vorn laughed. "Earth is far away, human, and this council has stood for millennia. What can your primitive world do to us?" The screen went dark, leaving Ji-woo and Hyun-woo alone in their cell. But Ji-woo was not afraid. She remembered Tae-sung's last words to her before he left that night. He had smiled and said, "If anything happens to me, trust that Earth has a plan." "We are never as helpless as we appear." She did not know what he meant then, but she would soon discover that humanity had prepared for this possibility, and the galaxy would learn that pushing humans too far came with consequences no one could imagine. The emergency meeting room in Geneva was silent as Admiral Kwon reviewed the evidence on his data screen. Around the large table sat representatives from every major Earth nation and colony. Their faces showed the same mixture of grief and rage that Kwon felt in his chest. President Hana spoke first, her voice cold as ice. "The station logs were altered. We have confirmation from our independent AI systems. Ji-woo and Hyun-woo were in their quarters when Tae-sung died. They never left. The council murdered our ambassador," said General Briggs from the Mars colony. "Then they framed his own team. This is an act of war." Kwon shook his head slowly. "War is what they expect. War is what they can handle. We need to do something they cannot predict or defend against." A side door opened and Dr. Yuna entered, carrying a secure data case. She was small and quiet, but everyone in the room knew her reputation. She ran Earth's most classified research programs, projects that officially did not exist. "Show them," President Hana said. Dr. Yuna placed the case on the table and entered her security codes. A holographic display appeared showing a massive structure floating in the darkness of the Kuiper Belt. It looked ancient, covered in ice and cosmic dust. 43 years ago we found this," Dr. Yuna explained. "An automated factory from a civilization that died out over 100,000 years ago. We call them the precursors. Their technology is so advanced that we are still only beginning to understand it." The hologram shifted, showing sleek ships and devices that looked like nothing humans had built. We have been reverse engineering their technology in secret. The Council thinks we stumbled into FTL travel by luck. The truth is, we found it in these factories. Everything we have built for the past 4 decades is based on precursor designs. Admiral Kwan leaned forward. How far ahead of the Council are we? Based on our analysis? Dr. Yuna paused. Approximately 1,000 years, maybe more. The room erupted in surprised voices. President Hana raised her hand for silence. Tae-sung discovered something else in the Council archives. He found records of what happened to the precursors. The Council races killed them, all of them. They used biological weapons to commit genocide because they were afraid of the precursors' power and their kindness. The precursors were trying to help everyone in the galaxy, Dr. Yuna added. They shared technology freely. They prevented wars. They made the Council races uncomfortable because the precursors proved that power did not have to mean domination. So the Council destroyed them and erased the evidence. Kwan felt his jaw tighten. Tae-sung was going to expose this. That is why they killed him. Yes, President Hana confirmed. And now we activate the Annihilation Protocol. The term made everyone in the room go still. The Annihilation Protocol was Earth's ultimate contingency plan. It had been developed years ago, when humanity first realized the Council might be hostile. It was designed to dismantle the Council's power completely without firing a single shot. Captain Dong-min, commander of the warship Indomitable, spoke from his position at the far end of the table. What are my orders, Madam President? Recall all human vessels from Council space, President Hana ordered. Every merchant ship, every explorer, every diplomat. Bring them home immediately. All trade agreements are terminated, said Minister Chen of the Economic Council. No human goods will reach Council worlds. No Council currency will be accepted on Earth or our colonies. Admiral Kwan added, Begin military preparations. I want our new fleet ready to deploy within 1 week. The Council needs to see that we are not defenseless. Dr. Yuna pulled up another display. I have already deployed our cyber warfare teams. Every piece of precursor technology we sold to the Council has a backdoor access point. We can shut down their systems whenever we choose. Do it slowly, President Hana instructed. Let them feel the pressure building. Let them wonder what is happening. Fear is more effective than immediate destruction. Over the next 9 days, the Council began to feel Earth's response. Human merchant ships that carried 30% of the Council's food supply simply disappeared from their trade routes. Hundreds of Council worlds found their markets empty. Communication systems across Council space began experiencing strange glitches. Messages were delayed, navigation coordinates were corrupted. Nothing catastrophic, just enough to create confusion and doubt. The Council's credit system, which humans had helped modernize 5 years earlier, started showing calculation errors. Financial transactions took hours instead of seconds. Businesses could not access their accounts. Economic activity ground to a halt on dozens of worlds. Mira, Earth's chief financial strategist, watched the chaos from her office in Singapore. She had spent 3 years embedding vulnerabilities in the Council's economic infrastructure. Now, with a few keystrokes, she was bringing down their entire financial network. Su Jin and her team of engineers worked from a hidden facility under the moon's surface. They controlled every piece of human-designed technology in Council space. And there was more of it than the Council realized. Human components were in everything from power grids to military ships. Disable their military communication satellites, Su Jin ordered. Not all of them, just enough to make them nervous. When the Council sent a battle fleet to intimidate Earth, Admiral Kwan was ready. The fleet arrived in the solar system expecting to find a backward world defended by primitive ships. Instead, they found a defensive line that made their admirals question their own sensors. The human fleet was smaller, but each ship looked wrong. They did not match any known design. Their hulls shimmered with energy fields that sensor scans could not penetrate. They moved with precision that suggested artificial intelligence far beyond anything the Council possessed. Admiral Drex, a Vrex commander known for his cruelty, led the Council fleet. He sent a message to Earth demanding immediate surrender and the execution of all humans involved in the economic attacks. Captain Dong Min responded personally from the bridge of the Indomitable. "You have 30 seconds to turn around and leave this system. This is your only warning." Drex laughed. "One human ship threatens my entire fleet? Your arrogance will be your death." 20 seconds, Dong Min said calmly. The Council fleet powered up their weapons. Targeting systems locked onto Earth's orbital platforms. Drex prepared to give the order to fire. 10 seconds. Drex opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came. His ship's systems went dark. Emergency lights flickered on, but nothing else worked. Weapons offline, shields offline, life support running on backup power, communications dead, across the entire Council fleet. The same thing happened. Hundreds of warships became floating debris, their crews unharmed but completely helpless. The Indomitable moved through the disabled fleet like a shark among fish. Dong Min broadcast on all frequencies, using old radio technology that still worked. "You came to my home and threatened my world. I could destroy every one of your ships right now. Your shields are gone. Your weapons are useless. You are alive because we choose mercy." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Leave. Do not return. Tell your council that Earth is done being patient. Tell them that we are done being ignored. And tell them that if any harm comes to Jiwoo or Hyunwoo, we will not show mercy again." Slowly, emergency thrusters fired on the Council ships. Using basic maneuvering systems, the fleet began its long, shameful journey home. It would take them weeks to reach the nearest Council station. Weeks during which every crew member would wonder how badly they had underestimated humanity. Admiral Kwan watched them go from Earth's orbital command center. President Hana stood beside him, her reflection visible in the observation window. "This is just the beginning," she said quietly. "Now the real work starts." Kwan nodded. "The Council will fracture. Fear will turn them against each other. And when they are weak enough, we will offer them something they never expected." "What is that?" asked a young officer nearby. President Hana smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Hope. We will show them that there is a better way. But first, we will show them the cost of crossing humanity." The Council chamber was in chaos. Vorn stood at his podium, trying to restore order as delegates shouted accusations at each other. 9 days had passed since the humiliation of the fleet at Earth's doorstep. 9 days of cascading failures across Council space. "The humans have declared war on us!" roared a Nephara delegate, its gas-filled form swirling with agitation. "My world's food supplies are gone! My people are hungry!" A crystalline lumen representative chimed in, its voice like bells. "Our communication networks are failing. We cannot coordinate our defense fleets. We are vulnerable to attack." Vorn slammed his clawed hand on the podium. "The humans have not fired a single weapon at us. They have simply withdrawn their trade and services. That is not war." "Then what is it?" demanded a small mammalian delegate from the outer rim. "My planet's entire banking system collapsed yesterday. Every credit, every transaction, every savings account, gone. Millions of my people have nothing." Deep in the moon's underground facility, Su Jin monitored dozens of holographic displays. Each one showed a different council system experiencing malfunctions. She sipped her coffee and made a small adjustment on her control panel. Somewhere in the Vrex home system, their military academy's training simulators would now believe every exercise was real. Chaos would follow when cadets started evacuating for imaginary emergencies. "How are they doing this?" asked one of her engineers, a young man named Dae-ho. "We pulled out all our ships and personnel. We should not have any access to their systems, Su-Jin smiled. We don't need to be there physically. Remember all those upgrades we sold them over the past 5 years? Every power converter, every data router, every communication satellite has our code embedded in it. They invited us into their systems because our technology was better and cheaper than what they had. And now we own their entire infrastructure, Daeho said with admiration. Not own, Su-Jin corrected. We can influence it, disrupt it, or disable it. But we are not stealing or destroying permanently. President Hana was very clear. We hurt them enough to make them listen, but not so much that we become the monsters. In Singapore, Mira watched financial data scroll across her screens. The council's economy was built on a complex web of trade agreements and currency exchanges. Humanity had helped them modernize this system, making it more efficient. What the council did not know was that Mira had designed it with specific weaknesses. Execute Phase 2, she told her team. Across council space, automated trading systems began making small errors. A decimal point shifted here. A currency conversion calculated wrong there. Individually, each mistake was tiny. Together, they created a tsunami of economic confusion. A merchant on the Vrex homeworld tried to buy supplies and found his account had been charged 10 times the correct amount. A factory on a Lumen colony world could not pay its workers because the payroll system thought it was bankrupt. A shipping company discovered that its insurance policies had been canceled due to a processing error. The council's Financial Oversight Committee met in emergency session. They brought in their best economists and programmers. After 3 days of analysis, they reached a terrifying conclusion. The humans built our entire economic system, the committee chair announced to the council. And they built it to fail on command. We cannot fix this without their help. Vorn refused to believe it. Bring in outside experts. Hire independent contractors. We will rebuild without them. But every expert they consulted said the same thing. The system was too complex, too interconnected. Trying to replace it would take years. In the meantime, billions of beings across the council space would suffer. On the council station where Tae-sung had died, Ji-woo and Hyun-woo sat in their cell. They had been there for nearly 2 weeks. The guards brought them food and water, but no information. They did not know about Earth's response. They did not know that the galaxy was falling apart around them. Then one morning, the cell door opened. Instead of a guard, a tall figure in dark armor stepped inside. The armor had no identifying marks, but something about the way the figure moved was familiar. Hyun-woo, the figure said quietly. Ji-woo, it is time to go. The helmet retracted, revealing a face that made Ji-woo gasp. Tai-jin, but you are supposed to be on Mars, running training exercises, Tae-jin finished. That is what the official records say. In reality, I have been leading Earth's special operations teams for the past 3 years. He was Tae-sung's younger brother, and the resemblance was striking. Your brother? Ji-woo whispered. I am so sorry. Tai-jin's face hardened. My brother knew the risks. He also knew that Earth would respond. Come. We are leaving this station. They followed him into the corridor. Bodies of guards lay unconscious on the floor. Tae-jin led them through maintenance passages that the station's security systems did not monitor. Or rather, systems that now showed empty corridors thanks to Su-jin's hacking. How did you get here? Hyun-woo asked as they moved. A stealth ship using precursor technology, Tae-jin replied. We have been orbiting this station for 3 days, waiting for the right moment. The council is too busy dealing with their collapsing systems to notice us. They reached an airlock where 2 more armored figures waited. Beyond the airlock, a ship that seemed to bend light around itself hung in space. Minutes later, they were accelerating away from the station at speeds that would have been impossible in council ships. Back on the station, alarms finally began to sound. Vorn watched security footage of the empty cell with mounting fury. Find them! Lock down all docking bays! No ship leaves this station! But it was too late. The human ship was already gone, vanished as if it had never existed. Admiral Drex, still trying to restore his reputation after the disaster at Earth, proposed a bold plan. We attack the human colonies. Mars, Europa, Titan. These worlds are not as well defended as Earth. We show them that we can hurt them too. The Council approved the plan. A smaller fleet was assembled and sent to the Jupiter system. Drex commanded from his repaired flagship, determined to restore his honor. They arrived at Europa to find the ice moon apparently undefended. Drex smiled. Begin bombardment of the colony domes. Before the first shot was fired, every ship in his fleet experienced simultaneous system failures. But this time it was different. This time, the life support systems shut down too. Panic spread as crews struggled to breathe thinning air. Emergency oxygen masks deployed, but the fear was palpable. They were going to die in the cold vacuum of space. Then, just as suddenly as they failed, the systems came back online. Air rushed back into the ships. Lights returned. Drex found a message on his command screen. Next time we will not turn them back on. Leave. Now. The fleet retreated, defeated without a battle. When they returned to Council space, Drex was stripped of his command. The Council's military leadership realized the truth. They could not fight an enemy that controlled their own ships. Vorn sat alone in his office, reviewing reports from across Council space. Food shortages on 40 worlds, economic collapse on 30 more, communication blackouts, military ships too afraid to leave port, and through it all, the humans had not fired a single shot in anger. His aide entered nervously. Director, we have received a message from Earth. Admiral Quan is requesting permission to enter Council space. Why? Vorn demanded. He says he wants to talk. Vorn laughed bitterly. Talk? After everything they have done? Sir, with respect, what choice do we have? Our economy is dying, our military is useless, our people are losing faith in the Council. If we do not talk to them, there will be nothing left to save. Vorn stared at the message for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Tell them to come, but they will answer for what they have done. His aide did not have the heart to tell Vorn the truth. The humans were not coming to answer for anything. They were coming to demand answers, and the Council, for the first time in its long history, would have to provide them. The Indomitable approached the Council station with deliberate slowness. Every race in the galaxy watched through live feeds as the sleek human warship glided through space like a predator. On its bridge, Admiral Quan stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his expression calm. Beside him stood Jiwoo and Hyunwoo, no longer prisoners but honored witnesses. Taijin commanded the security detail, 50 soldiers in powered armor that made them look like ancient warriors from Earth's history. They will try to arrest us the moment we dock, Hyunwoo said quietly. Quan smiled slightly. Let them try. The station's docking controller sent nervous instructions. The Indomitable followed them precisely, settling into a berth normally reserved for Council dignitaries. When the airlock opened, a full security team waited outside with weapons drawn. The team leader, a Vrex named Kral, pointed his weapon at Quan. You are under arrest for acts of war against the Galactic Council. Taijin moved faster than the aliens could track. One moment he stood still. The next he had disarmed 3 guards and held Kral by the throat. No, Taijin said softly. We are here to talk. You will take us to the Council chamber. You will not threaten us again, do you understand? Kral nodded as much as the grip on his throat allowed. Taijin released him and stepped back. The security team parted, allowing the humans to pass. The Council chamber was full. Every race, every delegate, every observer who could gain access crowded into the space. They wanted to see the humans who had brought the mighty Galactic Council to its knees without firing a shot. Vorn sat in his director's chair, trying to maintain dignity. Around him, the council delegates whispered and argued. Unity had crumbled over the past weeks. The Lumens blamed the Vrex for provoking the humans. The Nephara demanded Vorn's resignation. Smaller races spoke openly of leaving the council entirely. Quan walked to the center podium, the same spot where Tai Sung had stood weeks before. He waited for silence. When it did not come, Tai Jin fired his weapon once into the ceiling. The sharp crack echoed through the chamber. Silence fell immediately. "Thank you," Quan said. "I will be brief. We know what happened to Ambassador Tai Sung. We know you murdered him. We know you framed Ji Woo and Hyun Woo for his death. We have evidence that your own security systems provided before you altered them." Vorn started to speak, but Quan raised his hand. "I am not finished. We also know about the precursors. We know how you committed genocide against them. We have their records, their history, and the proof of your crimes." The chamber erupted in shouts. Some delegates denied the accusations. Others demanded to see the evidence. A few simply sat in stunned silence. Dr. Yuna stepped forward, carrying a data device. "I will show you what we found." The chamber's main display activated. Images appeared of ancient beings, tall and graceful, with features that suggested wisdom and kindness. Cities of incredible beauty stretched across worlds, technology that seemed like magic. "The precursors were the greatest civilization this galaxy ever knew," Dr. Yuna explained. "They explored every star system. They cataloged every species. And when they found others struggling, they helped. They shared their technology. They prevented wars. They healed the sick and fed the hungry." The images shifted, showing council races of long ago. Primitive versions of the Vrex, the Lumens, the Nephara. "Your ancestors were among those they helped. They gave you the stars. They taught you to travel faster than light. They offered friendship with no conditions." Vorn's voice cut through the chamber. "This is propaganda. Lies designed to—" "Silence!" The shout came from a Lumen delegate named Crystalia. She was old, one of the few remaining from her generation. "I remember the stories my grandmother told me. Stories of the ancient benefactors who came to our world when we were dying from a plague. Stories we were told to forget when we joined the council." Dr. Yuna nodded. "The council made you forget because the precursors made you uncomfortable. They proved that power did not require domination. They showed that the strong could help the weak without demanding submission. This threatened everything the council was built on." The display showed new images now. Council warships attacking precursor cities. Biological weapons spreading through the air. Bodies falling. Civilizations burning. The chamber grew silent as the horror unfolded before them. "You killed them all," Dr. Yuna said quietly. "Every last one. Then you erased the evidence. You destroyed their cities. You corrupted their records. You made future generations believe they never existed." A young Nephara delegate named Mist spoke up. "But why? Why would we do such a thing?" An old Vrex general stood slowly. His scales were gray with age, his eyes clouded. "Because we were afraid. I was there, young one. I was a soldier in the final war against them. They never fought back. They died peacefully, believing until the end that we would change our minds, that we would remember the good they had done for us." The chamber was deathly quiet. The general continued. "We told ourselves it was necessary, that they were too powerful, that eventually they would control us. But the truth is simpler and darker. We killed them because they made us feel small, not in size, but in spirit." Vorn stood shakily. "This changes nothing. Ancient history does not excuse the humans' attacks on us." Quan's voice was cold. "We attacked your systems, not your people. We disabled your ships, not destroyed them. We disrupted your economy, not slaughtered your children. We have shown far more mercy than you showed the precursors. or than you showed Tae-sung. Ji-woo stepped forward. You murdered an ambassador under diplomatic protection. You framed innocent people. You lied to your own citizens about what happened. These are the acts of criminals, not a legitimate government. Vorn's tail lashed in fury. You cannot speak to this council in such a way. I will activate the defense systems and destroy your ship. He pressed a sequence of buttons on his command panel. Nothing happened. He pressed them again. Still nothing. Soo-jin's voice came over the chamber's speakers, transmitted from the moon. Did you really think we would let you keep your weapons? We disabled those systems 3 weeks ago. You have no defense fleet, no orbital platforms, no secret weapons. You are completely helpless. Vorn slumped in his chair, defeated. Around him, council delegates began arguing among themselves. Several smaller races announced they were leaving the council immediately. The Lumens called for new leadership. The Nephara demanded a complete restructuring. Tae-jin moved to Vorn's side. You are under arrest for the murder of Ambassador Tae-sung and conspiracy to commit genocide against the precursor race. You have no authority here, Vorn hissed. We have the only authority that matters, Kwon said from the podium. The authority of power. You built your council on that principle. Now you face the consequences. Crystalia, the old lumen, rose to her full height. Her crystalline body chimed with purpose. The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved. We have failed in our purpose. We have betrayed those who helped us. We have murdered those who sought peace. We do not deserve to govern this galaxy. Other delegates joined her declaration. One by one, races withdrew their support. The council that had stood for thousands of years crumbled in the space of an hour. President Hana's face appeared on the display. Transmitted from Earth. The council is dead, but the galaxy still needs governance. It needs cooperation. It needs justice. We propose a new organization, one built on the principles the precursors tried to teach you. Equality, transparency, mutual respect. Why should we trust you? A delegate demanded. You have shown you can destroy us whenever you wish. Because we could have destroyed you, Hana replied. But we did not. We could have taken revenge for Tae-sung. But we chose justice instead. That is the difference between humans and the council you served. We remember what it means to be civilized. Kwon looked around the chamber. We are offering you a choice. Join us in building something better, or go your own way. But if you ever threaten humanity or any innocent species again, we will respond. And next time, we may not show mercy. The council chamber, once the seat of galactic power, fell into uncertain silence. The old order was dead. What would replace it remained to be seen. 1 year had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council. The massive station still orbited Krell Prime, but everything else had changed. Where once hung the symbol of the Council, now floated the emblem of the Stellar Assembly, a circle of stars surrounding an open hand, representing cooperation and peace. President Hana stood at the dedication ceremony for Tae-sung Memorial Hall. The structure was built into the station itself, replacing the old council chamber. Its walls displayed images of the ambassador's life and work. His words were carved in stone. His vision had become reality, though he had not lived to see it. Ji-woo placed a white flower at the base of Tae-sung's statue. She wore the formal robes of an ambassador now, representing Earth in the new assembly. Tears ran down her face, but she smiled. He would be proud of what we built, she said softly. Hyun-woo stood beside her in the uniform of the Assembly Security Force. He commanded the protection details for all delegates, ensuring that no ambassador would ever suffer Tae-sung's fate again. He died so this could happen. We must make sure his sacrifice meant something. The memorial hall filled with beings from hundreds of worlds. Vrex stood beside humans. Lumens floated near Nephara. Former enemies now worked together in the assembly. The change had not been easy, but it was real. In the main assembly chamber, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for their weekly session. Unlike the old council, every species had an equal vote regardless of their size or power. Decisions required majority support, and all votes were public. Transparency was the foundation of the new order. Crystallia, the old lumen, served as the assembly's first speaker. Her crystalline form caught the light beautifully as she called the session to order. We have much to discuss today. First, the petition from the Outer Rim colonies for infrastructure support. The discussion that followed would have been impossible under the old council. Powerful races actually listened to weaker ones. Compromise was not seen as weakness, but as wisdom. When votes were cast, they reflected genuine debate rather than predetermined power politics. Admiral Quan watched from the observation gallery. He had retired from active military service to lead the new peacekeeping force. Ships from dozens of species flew under his command, united in their mission to prevent conflict rather than wage it. Captain Dong Min still commanded the Indomitable, but now it patrolled with ships from other races. He had trained their crews in the use of human technology that Earth had agreed to share. Not the most advanced precursor designs, but enough to create a genuine defense force. Dr. Yuna had moved to the old council station permanently. She established the Precursor Research Institute, dedicated to studying and preserving the ancient civilization's knowledge. Scientists from every assembly race worked in her laboratories, learning together. "We found another archive yesterday," Yuna told a group of visiting researchers. "It contains medical techniques that could cure the wasting plague that has killed millions of your people." She gestured to a Nephara scientist named Flo. "Your species will particularly benefit." Flo's gaseous form swirled with emotion. "The old council told us the plague was incurable, that we must accept our fate." "They lied," Yuna said bluntly. "The precursors had already solved it. The cure was in archives the council kept secret. We are releasing everything we find. No more secrets. No more keeping knowledge from those who need it." In the station's financial district, Mira supervised the new economic system. It was designed with the same sophistication as the one she had destroyed, but without the hidden vulnerabilities. More importantly, it had safeguards to prevent any single race or corporation from controlling too much wealth. "The goal is sustainable prosperity for everyone," she explained to a class of economics students from various worlds. "Not unlimited wealth for a few. When everyone has enough, the entire galaxy becomes more stable." Sujin had returned to Earth, but her work continued across the galaxy. She trained engineers from other races in advanced computer systems. Some of her students would eventually surpass her, she knew. That was the point. Knowledge gained value when shared, not hoarded. Taejin had taken a different path. He left military service to become a teacher at the new diplomatic academy on Mars. Young people from hundreds of worlds came to learn the skills of peaceful negotiation. Taejin taught them history, showing them both the mistakes of the past and the possibilities of the future. "My brother believed that different species could work together," he told his students. "Not because we are all the same, but because we value what makes each of us unique. He died trying to prove that. Our job is to live proving it." Back on the council station, President Hana addressed the assembly for the last time. Her term was ending, and a new president would be elected soon. "When we began this journey, many doubted it would work. They said the old council was too powerful to challenge. They said the galaxy would fall into chaos without their iron rule. They were wrong." She gestured to the chamber filled with representatives from across known space. "You have proven that cooperation is stronger than domination. You have shown that justice is more durable than fear. You have demonstrated that the galaxy is large enough for all of us." The assembly rose in applause, not because protocol demanded it, but because they genuinely believed in what they had built together. That evening, a small group gathered in Tai Sung Memorial Hall for a private ceremony. Ji-woo, Hyun-woo, Tai-jin, Admiral Kwan, Dr. Yuna, Mira, Soo-jin, and President Hana stood before the statue of the fallen ambassador. "We did what you asked," Kwan said to the stone figure. "We built something better." "The Annihilation Protocol achieved its purpose," President Hana added. "Not by destroying our enemies, but by showing them a better way existed, by proving that power without wisdom leads only to collapse." Tae-jin stepped forward and placed his hand on his brother's statue. "You always said that humans were not special because we were strong. We were special because we could be strong and still choose kindness. You were right." Ji-woo read from Tae-sung's last message, the one he had recorded before going to the council station. "If you are hearing this, I am likely dead. Do not mourn me. Instead, finish what I started. Show the galaxy that there is a better way. Not the human way or the council way, but a way built on mutual respect and shared purpose. Make my death mean something." "We did," Hyun-woo said softly. "We made it mean everything." Outside the memorial hall, the station bustled with activity. Merchants from 100 worlds traded goods. Diplomats negotiated treaties. Scientists shared discoveries. Artists displayed works that combined styles from dozens of cultures. The galaxy was alive with possibility. Ships came and went from the docking bays. Human vessels flew alongside those of former council races and newly uplifted species. Some were going out to explore. Others returned from the frontier with news of discoveries. A few carried colonists to new worlds where different species would build communities together. In the Assembly's records library, a young researcher from a newly contacted species studied Earth's history. She read about humanity's wars and mistakes. She learned about nuclear weapons and environmental destruction. She discovered how close humans had come to destroying themselves. But she also read about how they changed, how they chose cooperation over conflict, how they reached for the stars not to conquer but to explore. How they faced the Council's arrogance and responded with measured justice rather than blind revenge. She understood now why the Stellar Assembly had chosen humans to help lead it. Not because they were perfect, but because they understood imperfection. They knew what it meant to fall and rise again. They had learned the hardest lesson any species could learn, that true strength lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to build. High above Earth, construction crews put the finishing touches on the last of the new defensive platforms. They would never be needed, Admiral Kwan believed. The galaxy had learned its lesson. But they existed anyway, silent guardians watching over a world that had changed everything. On Mars, in the Diplomatic Academy's main hall, Tae-jin students prepared for their final examinations. They would soon go out into the galaxy as ambassadors, mediators, and peacekeepers. They carried with them the lessons of the past and hopes for the future. One student, a young Vrex named Kess, stayed after class. "Professor, may I ask a question?" "Of course," Tae-jin replied. "Your brother gave his life for peace. The precursors gave their lives for helping others. Does doing the right thing always require sacrifice?" Tae-jin considered the question carefully. "Sometimes it does. But remember, the sacrifice has meaning only if those who remain use it to build something lasting. My brother did not die so humans could conquer the galaxy. He died so everyone in the galaxy could live better lives. That is the difference between a waste and a sacrifice." Kess nodded slowly, understanding. "Thank you, Professor." "I will remember." As the young Vrex left, Tae-jin looked out the window at the Martian landscape. In the distance, he could see the lights of the growing colony. Ships descended and ascended in regular patterns. Life continued. Hope endured. His brother's statue on the council station bore an inscription that Taejin had written himself. It read simply, "He came in peace. His death brought justice. His legacy brings hope." Those words had become the motto of the Stellar Assembly. They appeared on flags and seals. They were taught to children across the galaxy. They reminded everyone of what had been lost and what had been gained. The old Galactic Council had ruled through fear for thousands of years. The Stellar Assembly had existed for only 1 year, but already it had proven stronger. Because it was built on consent rather than coercion. Because it valued every voice rather than amplifying only the powerful. Because it remembered the past while working toward a better future. And Earth, the world that had been dismissed as primitive and insignificant, now stood as proof that youth and wisdom were not opposites. That being new to the stars did not mean lacking in vision. That humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or military power, but their stubborn refusal to accept that injustice was inevitable. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not soon forget. Push humans to their breaking point, and they will break you. But extend them friendship, and they will build empires of hope.